My name is Greg Compagnone. I am the North American Director of Sales of the Telex Dispatch products, along with the RTS Intercom products. A little bit of housekeeping. We'll be discussing the BTR30, the wireless intercom product, and some other wireless solutions that we have and what's happening with the FCC spectrum. So before we get into today's session, we wanted to show you a quick little video that kind of showcases how RTS is the #1 choice for your intercom needs. We call this the RTS difference. So Sean's going to hit the clip here and let you guys see a little bit about our marketing with RTS intercoms. So today's topic, with the ever-shrinking UHF spectrum upon us, the BTR30 system is a split-band wireless where half of the frequencies are in the UHF band and half of them lie in the VHF band. So what we're able to do with that is place the BTR product in more congested spaces whenever we have wireless microphones or wireless IEMs in a particular environment. So we find that the BTR30 is going to be a better option for you in these environments. And Sean will talk to you about that a little bit today. We'll also cover other products that we have, the classic BTR 800 and the ADN and our 2.4 gig product called the BTR 240. So let me tell you a little bit about Sean Anderson. A lot of you guys may already know Sean. He started with Telex back in January of 1991 as the first technician assigned to this brand called RTS. Sean has worked in several roles over the years, including manufacturing, quality control and test, design, engineering, system support, and as global product manager for RTS for over 7 years. He's currently the manager of the system design team. So all the guys out in the field that may come out to commission a system for you or help you out in the field with technical issues, that's all Sean's team. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it to Sean. He's going to go through our presentation today. And again, if you have any questions, type them in the chat window. We'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So take it away, Sean.
Thanks a lot, Greg. Yeah, thank you everybody for attending our Summer Showcase webinar. As Greg mentioned, we want to touch on our wireless portfolio and what we have as far as products that have been around for years as industry standards, as well as new developments that have come about because of the FCC Spectrum Repack. We have quite a bit of new product that works within the allowed space that was left over after the auctions, and we'll touch on quite a few of those as we go through the presentation here. The first unit here that we want to touch on, as Greg mentioned, is a brand new unit called the BTR30N. This is a split band UHF VHF unit that has traditional single 2-channel belt packs or 2-channel stereo belt packs. Now, the base station itself transmits in UHF. The belt packs transmit in VHF. So on the VHF side, we actually have 2 different offerings. We have the traditional 7 through 10 channels, which equates to 174 megahertz to 198 megahertz. And then we also have the grouping of the 9 through 13, which operates from 192 all the way up to 216 megahertz. So these can operate in the VHF spectrum, which so far the FCC has no interest in. So these bands should be available for quite some time. We also have some other offerings, which we'll touch on as we go. Now, the BTR30N is relatively a similar design to those of you who are familiar with our BTR80N. It's the same chassis, same firmware, so the UX is the exact same of doing things like clear scan from the front panel, going and selecting your channel groups and your individual frequencies. As you can see from the front panel, it supports up to 4 belt packs per base station in full duplex. We also have a feature on this similar to the 880N, which is called push to latch, which means you can run more than 4 belt packs, but it's a first come, first serve. So if a belt pack turns on its transmitters, the other ones are locked out until that transmitter's released. It's a way to achieve more capacity on the unit, but again, it reduces the full duplex conversation down to more of a simplex type conversation. In the lower part of the screen here, we've got on the left here is the TR30N. This is a 2-channel unit, but you're either on channel 1 or channel 2, but not both. Contrary to this, the one on the right side, being the 32N, this has individual talks and listens. So this is a true stereo, or what we would call a binaural unit, where you can actually monitor and speak simultaneously on either channel. So depends a bit on what your use case is and how many different simultaneous conversations you need. Now, on the front panel, these also support our traditional WTA, which stands for wireless talk around, which is kind of a pseudo hidden third channel. The wireless talk around really operates just between the belt packs themselves. So they can hold a private conversation. This does not come back to the base station and is not transmitted out the external intercom lines, which we'll touch on here in a minute. So this is a pseudo private third channel just amongst the belt packs themselves. Then, of course, you've got the SA button, which stands for studio announce. If you're using this in theater applications or, say, sports arenas, this has the ability to be able to connect it to your house PA if you need to do things like public announcements and things like that across the house PA. This is a direct output with a dedicated key for that. This also has 2-wire and 4-wire connections, similar to all of our products, so can be connected to traditional 2-wire systems like our RTS TW line or our RTS balance line, which was previously known as Audiocom. There's a simple switch on the back to change that format, or 4-wire connections if you're going to any type of a IP or analog matrix solution, whether that be an Atom, an Odin, or an Atom M type solution. So a very versatile unit. Now you'll notice on the base station itself, there's actually a headset jack. The base station also operates as a user station. So there's the blue talk button. I have the channel select button just to the left of that. And I can use this as a 5th user station on this as well. This audio is transmitted out to the belt packs as well as out to the intercom line. So it's a full functional 5th position that can be used in these. Now, if you do need to add additional capacity, there are link connectors on the back, and I'll show you a back panel here in just a minute, that allow you to interconnect multiple units to create larger and larger wireless coverage user bases. So we'll transition to the next slide here. Now, the new frequencies, we've created quite a bit of new model numbers for this, in that we've used our traditional UHF bands, which are allowed to be used below 106 megahertz. So we've got A, B, C, F, and H bands. And from the chart here, you can just see that the base station TX as well as the belt pack TX. So there's quite a bit of capacity that's available for you to work around existing RF devices depending on your location. We do have some band selector tools which can assist you in selecting which the proper band would be for your particular area. But each of these is available in a 4-pin or 5-pin female headset for the RTS headset users, or a 4-pin male connector for those of you who use the legacy AudioCom system. So we'd still maintain these in all 3 headset formats. So they'll seamlessly integrate into existing installs or any new install that you may be coming up against. Now, some of the vertical markets that this is available for, this is designed for things like theater, house of worship, nuclear power, industrial basically, education for anything for like high school to colleges, and of course our core business, which is the broadcast market. Everything from small to large systems, mobile units, ENG trucks. We have these in a variety of different applications. We've got a long history of wireless products. Right now, I think we probably have the widest breadth of products, as Greg had mentioned. We have UHF, VHF, we also have Wi-Fi, and as we had talked about on Monday, I believe it was, about our Romeo system that actually operates in DEC spectrum. So we by far have probably one of the widest breadth of RF devices for a litany of different spectrum usage. Just depends on what you have available and what your needs actually are. And again, this is similar to the form factor, the BTR 800 or 80N. Can work in standalone configurations as well as integrated into either 2-wire or 4-wire systems. Now, a couple of other new additions to our wireless line will transition into some brand new band combinations that we've come out with for the BTR 800 as well as the BTR 80N. Because of the loss of spectrum above 608, we had to regroup and basically take some existing bands that we've used for years and create new combinations of these. So we've come out with the new FD, FE, and HE bands, and these are combinations of different bands we've used for years, and these are fully compliant. These are full power at 50 millihertz on the belt pack, which is selectable up to 250 milliwatts on the base station. And again, all of these power levels are selectable by the units. Again, the belt packs are also available in 4-pin, 5-pin, male and female. These are all 3 of these units, the BTR 30, BTR 800, and 80N. All of these are currently shipping and available. So these you can order today, order up demo units, or if you need units at a in-site, fully available, fully shipping on all of these. And as I mentioned, with the different amount of products that we offer, we have probably the largest breadth of products. We keep a very close eye on the FCC and what they're doing. And for right now, we don't foresee any major changes in the FCC spectrum right now that is available for broadcast or in the case of DECT for telephony devices. So we think we have a pretty good broad base of different products available. And again, everything from DECT to UHF, VHF, even Wi-Fi devices. And one of the more prominent units is we actually have a unit that's been selling very well as well called V-Link, which can also use wireless internet, G3, G4. That's just another alternative to these spectrums if need be. And we can talk to you about those separately if need be. Now, one other particular product, which actually I realize I forgot to put a slide in, is we also have some new products that work in the 3-band. This is the duplex gap that was left by the FCC that operates between 653 megahertz to 663 megahertz. This is limited, though, to 20 milliwatts of transmit power. So we do have belt packs that we have modified in the software to, one, reduce the spectrum down to 10 megahertz, and also limit the transmit power to 20 milliwatts, sorry. So we do have a full line of brand new 3-band product, which is also FCC compliant. And one thing to remember here too is the FCC deadline is coming up next month. So if you are still operating things that are above 608, with the exception of the low power 3-band, next month is the deadline where everybody has to get out of that spectrum. So if you are still operating in that band, just a helpful hint that the end of that is coming up next month. So you do not want to still be operating in that band after July. Excuse me. Now, for the BTR30N, as I've mentioned here, the front panel, almost identical to the 880N. Same with the back panel. We tried to keep a consistent mechanical structure and UX on this for people who have been using these for years. They're on the far right-hand side here, you've got your power connector, and as we work across here, on the rear panel, we've got a actual DC input connector. So if you're at a remote location without power, you could actually power this from a couple of car batteries. What this actually came about as is in a lot of cruise ship applications, they have ready amounts of DC power supplies throughout the ship, and it made sense to actually be able to power this from a DC source. Gives you a cleaner line. You're not dealing with AC generated power, which can sometimes have hums. So this unit can actually be DC powered as well. As we go across to the left here, as I mentioned, the stage announce output. This has standard 3-pin XLR that will plug into most house PA amplifiers with just a standard microphone cable. We've got auxiliary audio, both in and out. Depending on what your needs are, you can bring in separate program source or take an output out to another device. And then we've got the 2 standard intercom channel external connections, channel 1, channel 2. Now, we provide both a line and a loop connection for traditional 2-wire systems and a 4-wire connection on a RJ12 connector. Now, the one thing to note is with the XLR connectors, this base station does not power traditional TW systems. It is a static unit. It just pulls audio off the line. But the one thing you want to make sure is you're not running power through the unit. It's not designed to do that because of the ferrite beads that are used for immunity and emissions. Those do not like to have lots of power drawn through them. So typically you do not want to run the DC power through this looping to other additional TW stations. This should be an endpoint connection and then looping to additional BTR bases. So just a design application tip there for you. Now the base station link, this is if you want to link up multiple base stations. If you want to add additional BTR30N, and use a common set of antennas, this can actually use to link audio between base to base. And then the program jack, don't worry about this. This is an internal programming jack for us to do things like software updates. It will do nothing for you for the most part as an end user. Then the last connector to talk about there along the bottom is the relay contact. This works in parallel with the stage announce function. So if you also need to have a contact closure for your house PA, we do provide a physical relay with a common and a normally open connection on that, so you can trigger the GPI input on your house PA. Now, on the far upper corners, you've got your transmit and your receive. These are on TNC connectors. The antennas are removable as well as uses similar on the transmit side that you'd see on your traditional BTR 800 or BTR 80N. But the receive side of this being UHF, that antenna is going to be a bit longer, roughly about 30% longer, and will be quite a bit thicker in diameter. The antenna requirements for VHF are much longer in length. So rather than giving you a 7-foot tall antenna, we actually have a coiled antenna to keep the distance or the height of that down, but it is substantially larger in size, which you will notice as you play around or demo or purchase these. So slightly different antenna on the receive side just because of the requirements of the antenna lengths in VHF spectrum. So now, as Greg had mentioned, we still have a full line of BTR 800s. As I mentioned, we've actually come out with some new bands. So right now, probably the most popular bands, at least for in the U.S. market as well as Canada, are going to be your E88, which is fully compliant and below 608. The new FD, FE, and HE, I think I got those right, bands are also fully available. And you can intermix those amongst each other to get quite a bit of capacity out of the systems. If you need additional capacity, those can also be interconnected with different BTR 30N units, but you just have to do frequency coordinations just to make sure you're not getting different harmonics that might interfere with unit to unit. So again, same functionality. You've got your two-channel A or B unit, and then you've got your two-channel stereo units. And so, yeah, so this will be around for many years to come, and we don't foresee, as I said, any more movement in the FCC as far as them looking at other pieces of spectrum to sell off.
Good, yes, Sean, I was going to pop in. The 800 is really the standard. We've had very good luck with it. It's celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, actually. And we took the technology from Telex and Electro Voice wireless microphones, and it's one of the best sounding intercom products out there. So of all of them in our portfolio, I think sonically the 800 has the best sound quality. Now, we don't need great sound quality for background communications, but because of that, I think that's what's made it so popular over the years. Workhorse, standard of the industry, BTR 800, you put it down, you put the antennas up, and it really works every time. So I think we built the 80N off of it, and now the 30N off of the same format because of that. People really like that footprint of it.
Yes, the 800 is sort of become the gold standard over the years in UHF wireless. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with the high quality audio path through the hardware. It also occupies 200 kilohertz footprint, so it's got a bit of range there to get you full fidelity audio. With that said, the BTR 30N and 80N, they occupy 25 kilohertz, so it is compressed audio. It still sounds very, very good, but you do get a little less audio fidelity out of that just because of the reduced footprint of where they're allowed, or of where they operate, and how much you can push through that footprint. So, but again, the 800 is really the gold standard in UHF communications, and we've been able to leverage that technology in those designs in a lot of the products we've come out with over the past few years since its release. Okay, as I'd mentioned, the BTR 80N is the other alternative here, and same functionality, same UX. Only difference is this is reduced to a 25 kilohertz footprint as opposed to a 200 kilohertz. And really what that does is it allows you to get far more BTR 80Ns in one location than you would with the 800. Because it's occupying a quarter of the actual RF space, it allows you to put in many, many more units and achieve a much higher capacity as far as the number of people who can walk around with wireless belt packs. So again, very good audio quality, not quite as full range as the 800, but again, it's a balance between audio fidelity and capacity. So it really depends on what your end use is as to which one would be the right unit for your application.
Hey, Sean, on
yes.
the 800, the 30N, and the 80N, tell us a little bit about the clear scan function.
Okay, yes. On the clear scan function, each of these supports it. And what clear scan is basically is clear scan is more or less a spectrum analyzer. It will actually go out, do an RF sweep, and will actually tell you what are the best bands for this thing to operate in. It'll give you a list from best case to worst case of where it doesn't see any RF interference. So it basically a built-in spectrum analyzer. Not only is this available in the base station, but the TR belt packs themselves also have this same functionality. If you look just to the left of the screen there, you've got a menu and a set button. If you simply push them both at the same time and hold them for about maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds, it will pop up into clear scan mode. This typically takes 10 to 20 seconds, and then it will give you a full list of roughly about 6 or so of the best available channels, not only from the band group, or sorry, frequency group, but also channels within that group. So it gives you a really good indication of what's going on. So when you set this down in your theater or your house of worship, hit clear scan, it'll pick up things like your wireless microphones, wireless IFB transmitters, things like that. So it truly can work around all of your existing equipment. Okay, so we'll go ahead and transition here. Now, the last unit we kind of wanted to talk about is the BTR 240. This is actually a Wi-Fi device. I recommend this for mainly fixed installations where you as the end user actually control your RF spectrum and your Wi-Fi usage. When this first came out, 2.4 gigahertz was not a heavily populated spectrum, so the original sales of this were going really, really fast. And then a lot of companies realized that 2.4 gigahertz was a license-free spectrum for the most part, and a lot of people jumped into it really, really fast. Companies like lighting controllers, I mean, you even get remote control cars and things in this spectrum. So you have to really know what's operating around your area before you really want to go into a Wi-Fi based device. Again, if you're doing this in a fixed facility where you control your RF pretty tightly, perfectly fine for just about any application. For things like, say, an outdoor music venue or things like that, you have a lot of different things which may be pushing Wi-Fi. And when it comes down to RF, those of you who deal with RF know that he who pushes the most power wins. So if you've got something like a DMX lighting controller or something that's pushing out 500 milliwatts of power, it's going to crush everything around it. So this is really recommended for fixed facility or places that you know what's actually being operated in Wi-Fi spectrum. We have the ability to hide the SSID on this, so people don't try logging into it thinking it's an internet access point and things like that, which was an early on thing that we ran across. Is anybody who sees something Wi-Fi thinks it's internet. So it really depends on what you want to do. Now, the belt packs on this are actually very unique in that they can run in Wi-Fi, of course, 2.4 gig, but these can also operate as a IP wired belt pack. There's a simple menu setting to change those over. So these are a very simple throwdown IP pack. If you just have a small, say a 4 to 10 belt pack system that you want to run around a campus or within a small theater or something, these are very easy to configure in a wired mode as well as Wi-Fi mode. So they're very flexible in that. They're very robust mechanically. These are made out of high impact ABS plastic, so they do take a beating. We were selling a similar model to this into things like high school and college sports, and the coaches can really abuse those. So the mechanical designs on these are pretty sturdy. Yeah, so just another alternative depending on what you're really looking for. And as you can see on this one as well, it also has a pseudo extra user station built into the base. So you've got your channel 1, channel 2 select as well as your talk. Again, available in 4-pin or 5-pin male and female headsets. And if we do have any international attendees here, we also make versions of this for Japan, for China. We have a EU version of this as well, because each of those areas are a little bit different in Wi-Fi, particularly on the channel count, the number of Wi-Fi channels. So we do have international models of this available as well, depending on where you actually are looking to do an install or where you reside. So very flexible product, been around for many years. Has full line of accessories, just like all of our products. All of these are available with battery charge bays, with things like remote antenna clamps, different antenna configurations, things like belt pack holsters. Every one of these within these different RF products has a full line of accessories available as well. So for a full list of those, I mean, just get a hold of your local dealer or come to the RTS website, and you can take a look at the full complement of accessories that we have for these as well. And with that, we will transition into our question and answer section.
All right, we got a couple here for you, Sean.
Okay.
Is there a portable case for the systems?
The portable cases, no. We used to do a portable case with a system we specifically designed for sports. Yeah, these we do not sell the actual cases. I mean, to be honest, you can pick up a Pelican case, things like that, from any number of manufacturers, and those generally just come out with a little square tear outs. But we do not sell carrying cases specifically.
Right. The Pelican 1650 case actually holds a base station and 4 belt packs and some headsets. No problem. You just pick the pluck foam out and size it right in.
I'm gonna guess that's what the sales team's using.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can an older BTR get a frequency change to a legal frequency set?
Yes, they can. We on our website, there is if you go to the wireless section under downloads, there is a document there called Wireless Flyer. Yeah, our AZA, which is our repair and service department, does have a program for rebanding units into legal frequencies. We offer both a single side reband or a two-side reband. So if you have something that, say, is in the C4 band, you could get that modified to C3, which is a single side reband, or you could have it completely changed over to, say, an E88, which is a double side reband. So we do offer programs for all combinations for existing users.
Right, and that also brings up what Sean said earlier about the FCC date of next month, where everything becomes illegal. So if you do have a frequency band that will become illegal, we also are offering a rebate program where you can put money towards the purchase of a new BTR product, the Romeo product, or maybe even the BTR 30N. One base station and 4 belt packs gets you $1,500 towards the purchase of a new system. So keep that in mind. Also, we're running that program. Just get in touch with one of your sales managers, and we'll hook you up with that program.
Yeah. Now, also as hold on, Greg, as an adjunct to that, for anybody who is running bands that are not going to be compliant, we also cannot repair those. Because they are not legal for use, if you have an existing one, we actually cannot legally repair those anymore either, because since they're not legal for use, we can't legally repair it and send it back to a person who could potentially use it. We can do the rebanding, no problem, but if you have a unit that is in a band that is no longer allowed after next month, we are not even legally allowed to do repairs, just so everybody's aware.
Okay. Will you be coming out with a passive VHF batwing style antenna like the ALP series?
Oh yes, actually that is something that we are looking at right now is not only the larger paddle type antennas, but also split splitter combiners as well. That was actually something I had a discussion on earlier today with our design team.
Okay. In one of the other webinars, we mentioned that the 4-wire is now an RJ45 standard connector. Is that the case?
On the BTR 30N, that has an RJ45 because that's a brand new one. Yes, because most everything we've moved to RJ45s mainly because of convenience and availability. For years, we used to use RJ12s. We found out, unfortunately, that in Europe, it is next to impossible to get your hands on an RJ12 connector. Which nowadays everybody and their mother can wire Ethernet cable. You can go to even Walmart and pick up RJ45 cables. So yeah, so the 30N has moved over to that. All the other product will transition over to that as we need to respin the motherboards for things like component EOL updates, things like that. Yeah, everything will move over to a 45 connector.
Awesome. And we have two more here. I think that'll take us right to quarter of. Is the clear scan only looking at open spectrum, or is it considering other intermod problems? We need to protect our wireless mics also.
Yeah, it is looking for active devices. It does not look at second or third order harmonics. Yeah, for that you truly need to use a program like IAS from Professional Wireless or other companies. Yeah, it is only looking at devices. It is not intelligent enough to be looking at second and third order harmonics.
No, that's correct. But a good practice, Sean, would be to light up all of your wireless microphones and then do the clear scan last
Correct.
up to the intercom.
Yeah, correct. If you're running a very RF heavy facility, yes, fire up everything, then run the clear scan, and yeah, like I said, it will find open holes. Typically, you won't run into interference. Depending on how much RF you're running, though, yeah, I mean the second and third order harmonics can be an issue, but the clear scan in the unit is not intelligent enough to dig that deep into it. You truly got to run real intermod software like IAS.
Okay. And then what is the transmit distance of a BTR 800 ADN?
The transmit distance depends on if you're going through, depends on the materials you're going through, but line of sight typically in the area of about 500 to 600 feet line of sight.
Okay.
Without a lot of obstructions. I mean, as you get a lot of brick and steel, that's going to dwindle a bit, but not a whole lot. But yeah, typically, yeah, about that far.
Right.
Now the VHF on the 30N VHF, sorry, has a typically a shorter distance range. That's probably going to be in the neighborhood of about 300 to 400 feet.
Okay. And we can always extend antennas in different sections if we need to.
Correct. You can always, yeah, do diverse antenna deployments and other things to kind of expand your coverage ranges. Yes.
Okay, and I got one last one here. Can the base stations be used as a repeater?
As a repeater? No, not in the sense of like a two-way radio repeater, if that's where you're going with it. Yeah, it's not gonna pick up and then transmit to another base to then transmit to another belt pack. If you're talking about traditional like Motorola type radio repeaters, no, it does not function in that manner.
No, we would extend antennas in that case and get the longest possible leads on an antenna with low loss cable and try it that way.
Correct.
You get to different areas.